A lot of people in the gaming industry, whether they are games journalists or AAA game developers, have been pretty mad about Palworld. Honestly, for good reason too. Palworld proves that the end of the current AAA model might be right around the corner. It looks like the current system of microtransactions and games as a service is failing really badly. I realized this because I saw a tweet from Tae Kim, a writer at Barron's and an opinion tech columnist, that really put it into perspective. And this isn't like the other bad Twitter arguments I've highlighted. This guy actually has a good take. Well, kinda, at least I think. You see, when he was first retweeted onto my timeline, it was from someone who took his tweet to be really negative about Palworld and called him out on it. But when I looked a little closer, it turned out that the point he was making was the opposite of how people were initially interpreting it. But don't take that from me, let's look at the tweets. The first tweet reads, Palworld is outselling Suicide Squad, a AAA title that took over a decade to make with hundreds of developers. The gaming industry is doomed, and includes a picture of the stats for the top 100 selling games by revenue right now. Now initially, I think people look at that and say, LOL, another journo so upset that Palworld did good, that they've decided that the entire industry is doomed. Probably because they think Palworld is offensive for some inane reason. I mean, that's how I took it. But the guy who made the tweet isn't your typical whiny games journalist, so I decided to do some investigating, and in his follow-up tweet, he explains what he meant and makes a really good point. It says, there's one silver lining, money talks. With non-games as a service, no microtransactions, Hogwarts Legacy becoming the best-selling game last year, 24 million sold, and Suicide Squad flopping, we will see more funding for story games. Ironically, both games came from the same publisher. This put into perspective what he meant by the whole gaming industry is doomed thing, at least for me. You see, a lot of games companies are currently built around the whole games as a service model, or at least heavily reliant on it. Games as a service has a lot of different meanings to different people and companies, but in a broad definition, it's the whole idea that if you make a game once and you keep producing DLC for the game and updating it to keep it relevant, you can make more money than you would by making two games to do the same thing. These companies usually, but not always, offer in-game microtransactions and are most of the time always online titles. Basically stuff like Fortnite, Warzone, Genshin Impact, the new Suicide Squad video game, all of those kinds of games. What Tae is saying is that model is probably doomed, because now people can see that the alternative, without all the usual nonsense, can be just as viable as the games as a service model. He uses the example of Hogwarts Legacy being the best-selling game of the year, and that's a pretty fitting example. Like Palworld, Hogwarts Legacy was a game that the usual suspects in gaming journalism wanted to fail, but it didn't. Meanwhile, the new Suicide Squad game, which exemplifies every part of the games as a service model, failed spectacularly when compared to industry expectations. And I think that's a good thing. The entire gaming industry is doomed, and it's a good thing. Perhaps between Palworld and Hogwarts Legacy's success, we will finally see companies start to move back to the types of games that were made before everything had to have massive monetization all the time and shoved down the players' throats. If the big games companies don't adapt, they might find themselves making the next big flop, while being outdone by random small indie studios like Pocket Pair, who made Palworld. Or maybe they'll just be outsold by a normal story-based game with no microtransactions like Hogwarts Legacy. Because if they keep making flop after flop, eventually they will fail. Eventually we might see a company considered too big to fail right now go out the way of the dinosaur because they got too greedy, they dug too deep. At least I hope. Because I personally am so done with microtransactions and everything needing to be online all the time. It used to be that you could take out your Game Boy or DS while out camping or during a power outage and play all your games for as long as those devices' batteries lasted, which would usually be longer than a power outage. But now, what do we have that has the ability to play games on the go, that doesn't need to be plugged in? The Steam Deck is the best one, the Switch as well, but considering its specs, let's stick to real gaming devices here. If you bring your Steam Deck camping, how many of your games can you even play? I'll tell you, you can basically play indie games, which is actually great because indie games are great, but my point is that always online is bad. Also, for the record, playing video games while camping kinda defeats the purpose of going camping, but it was the best example I could think of. What do you guys think? Is the gaming industry doomed? Do you want it to be? Do you prefer indie games or AAA games these days? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching all the way till the end. If you've made it this far, please be sure to smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day and God bless you.